Hi, Talia. I've got your survey here in front of me, and I just want to go through it with you and see if I can help you to redo this assignment and understand what we're looking for here. So to start with, your title, you're taking on a lot with that title, if that's your intention with the survey, to try to find information on that. I think that if you narrow it down to something a little more workable, that it would be easier for you to come up with the questions. The rule of thumb when you're making a survey is really for you to think about what relationship you're trying to get information about, and then create your questions so that you'll be able to get the data you need to decide if that relationship exists or not. So, if you were looking to improve something at school, let's say that you didn't think that the break time between period 1 and 2 was sufficient for people to get to class on time, then you could do a survey with that in mind and ask people questions about their experience getting to class on time, and what their problems were, and that caused them to be late and things like that, so that you could specifically get information about one particular problem and look for a relationship there that might allow you to make some changes. So here what you've got is dropout, impact, and reasons, and it's just a little bit too much, too broad of a topic for you to cover in a 10-question survey. So if you're wanting to stick to that theme, first decide what question you're trying to ask. If you're interested in dropouts and you're trying to find the reason why people might drop out, then you'll have to create your questions with that in mind, and you'll also have to find your sample, the people that you asked to answer your survey. You'll have to make sure that those people have some experience in some way with dropouts so that they can answer the questions for you. So as we look at your questions here, let's just go through and I'll point out a couple of the things that I mentioned in the feedback and explain to you why they need to be fixed up. So the first thing I'd like for you to do is start your survey with a couple of lines explaining why you're taking the survey and what the information will be used for, and also give people any instructions that they need, such as in a multiple choice question, can they answer more than one answer if both apply, or can they only choose the one that best applies, and things like that. So what we're looking for here now, in your questions, you've got a good mix of multiple choice, short answer, and longer answer questions, so that was good in terms of question variety. Be careful when you get to something like question 5. You're asking a question there, do you think it's a good thing to drop out of school? And you provided a yes or no answer. Question 6, if you read it, is exactly the same as question 7. And so in the wording, if you want them to elaborate on their answer, you could possibly say, if you chose yes, please provide reasons why. And then question 7, you could say, if you answered no in question 5, please provide some reasons why. Also give people an indication of how much to write. So say in 1 or 2 sentences, or something like that, if you're looking for them to give you a short answer. Otherwise, people might write paragraphs and paragraphs, and that's going to be difficult for you to use when you're trying to organize your data. Some of these other questions are just getting a little bit too big in scope for this survey, so try to narrow your questions down, and always keep in mind what it is you're trying to show, what kind of a relationship you're trying to show, or what kind of a change you're trying to make a case for. And so questions like number 10 are just a little bit too specific here. And when you're asking them for a conjecture, why do you think they did, that's not very scientific in terms of being able to get data from that. You're going to get a lot of different answers, and you're asking people's opinions. And when you get into that, then it becomes very difficult to try to organize that into any kind of data and make it usable later on. For question 12, You're provided 4 answers there, but if the person who's taking the survey doesn't agree with any of those 4 answers, you haven't provided an opportunity for them to say none of the above or other, please fill in what you find or something like that. So make sure that you haven't pigeonholed people into having to choose an answer that maybe isn't something that they would normally have answered. And question 13 again is an opinion question. When you ask them, why do you think so? You should try to be more specific in terms of the information that you're trying to gather from your survey. For question 14, again, that's an opinion question, and that's not really going to help you in terms of gathering data. For question 15, asking them how many you think drop out a year, you may be able to include something like that in your overall data analysis if that's the question that you're asking, is that people maybe don't view it as a big enough problem or something like that. You may be able to use data like that, but if you were going to, then you should include more questions along those lines, so that you've got that as sort of a category of data that you're analyzing later on. Again, for question 16, when you're saying what advice would you like to give to those who still have the mindset of dropping out, again, you're going to get varied responses there, which are going to be difficult for you to use in any way in terms of data collection. And that's really why we're writing this survey, is to collect data and use it for a purpose. So try to stay away from questions like that. So try to just fine-tune your questions so that you're gathering the data that you need. And that when you have that data, you're going to be able to easily organize it and show, show some kind of relationship in the topic that you're asking about on your survey.